What's up guys, back with another Fallout video, and today I figured I would go over my own survival build with you guys. Now before we start, I want to go ahead and mention that this isn't a melee or stealth sniper type build, and will be a build focused around power armor, rifles, and heavy weapons. I also want to mention that I'm going to try and make this build as modular and as customizable as possible, so you can take what I'm showing in this video and fine-tune it further based on what types of weapons you would like to use. So I guess as an example, you may not want to use Demolition Expert if you have no plan on using explosive weapons like the kiloton radium rifle. I'm also going to assume that you've played through Fallout 4 at least once on any difficulty, and that you are at least somewhat familiar with the mechanics of survival mode. As always, make sure you're hydrating with purified water and filling your bottles at Vault 111, and make sure you're not consuming any irradiated food or drinks. Also, remember to sleep often and avoid using stim packs so you don't take on diseases, and if you do take on some kind of disease, be sure to cure yourself by crafting or purchasing antibiotics from vendors. However, without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into the build. One thing that's nice about Fallout 4 when compared to previous Bethesda-style games or just Fallout games after Fallout 3 is that you don't have to do much planning, as you can simply migrate into different paths with your build. So for example, maybe you started out focused on melee weapons and now you want to switch to guns. Well, you can do that pretty easily in Fallout 4. However, with this said, proper preparation for survival can go from making a difficult playthrough difficult to making a difficult playthrough far easier. Now, for the way that I tend to play survival, here is the special stats configuration that I generally tend to start out with. Before I go into any details on why I chose what I chose, it's important to mention that I would eventually acquire better special stats as I go, so I can attain certain perks for certain weapons. And with this in mind, I'll go ahead and display the maximum amount of points you want to pump into these special stats, in my personal opinion. So, as you can see, I would not recommend taking Strength beyond 6, or taking Perception beyond 5, or taking Endurance beyond 4. However, let's go ahead and I'll get into all of that and I'll explain why. I recommend setting the Strength stat at 3 to start. This way you can acquire the Armorer perk, which is an important skill to have in survival mode because you will always want to upgrade your power armor. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend increasing Strength any higher than 6, because many of the higher requirement skills from the Strength tree are far more useful for melee builds. At 6 Strength, you should have access to the Heavy Gunner perk, which is a must-have skill if you plan on using really good weapons for survival like the Gatling Laser, and the Strong Back perk, which is simply nice for just boosting carry weight. Though, if you find that you don't want either of these things, you could just leave your Strength at 3. When it comes to the Perception stats, I recommend starting out with 4 points, and if you want, you can increase Perception by 1 to get the Demolition Expert perk. And the reason I'm picking 4 to start is because having 4 Perception will give you access to both Rifleman and Locksmith. And like I just said, all you simply have to do is put an additional point in Perception to get the Demolition Expert perk if you want it. And while there are some other good perks like Concentrated Fire, I think you'll find that you should be able to get by without that perk, but it's ultimately up to you, but I would recommend not going past 5 Perception. As for Endurance, I honestly don't think that you need to go any higher than 4. For starters, I have set Endurance to 2, and this will allow you to have access to the Toughness and Lead Belly perks. Though the perks that you will actually want are Life Giver, which can boost maximum health and provides a passive healing bonus outside of combat, and Chem Resistant, which will basically make you immune to addictions from chems and goes really well with the Chemist perk from the Intelligence tree. And if you use power armor like I recommend, and you're also using chems to boost health further, I don't think you're going to need that additional endurance. Charisma is fairly self-explanatory. while I start this at 5, it really should be maxed out to 11 as soon as possible so you can more easily pass speech checks. Plus, some of the charisma perks are worth acquiring as they will make buying items from vendors a whole lot easier. And if you want recommendations on specific perks, I recommend the Lone Wanderer perk if you're using Dogmeat as a companion, Cap Collector, Lady Killer or Black Widow, and the Local Leader perk. Ultimately, I think charisma is something that you should prioritize and boost relatively quickly, or at the very least, as soon as possible. Perhaps this comes down to personal taste, but 11 intelligence is highly recommended for survival mode or any difficulty. After all, having a high intelligence will allow you to earn experience faster and give you access to some excellent perks like Scrapper, Science, Gun Nut, Chemist, Robotics Expert, and the Nuclear Physicist perks. And as a power armor user in particular, Nuclear Physicist is highly valuable as it will allow you to reduce the burn on your fusion cores and it will allow you to wear power armor longer. Other skills like Scrapper, Science, Chemist, Gun Nut, and even Robotics Expert are really useful for crafting and are highly recommended, but not necessarily required. Now this brings us to Agility, and as you can see, I barely put any points in this. The main reason for that is because I typically don't use VATS a whole lot, and I would also argue that pistol builds generally work better with VATS because certain customizations for rifles like long-range scopes or rifle stocks actually increase action point cost in VATS. Still, you may find that you want to go up to 7 or 8 agility depending on what perks you want. Perks like Sneak, Mr. Sandman, and Ninja are a must if you want powerful sneak attacks with rifles, though Mr. Sandman won't work with power armor. And other skills like Action Boy or Girl and the Quick Hands perk are also quite nice. Ultimately, it's up to you, but I wouldn't recommend going past 8 unless you plan on using VATS a lot. Finally, we have the luck stats. I personally think luck is more important than agility simply because of the Fortune Finder and Scrounger perks, and Bloody Mess is also a fairly nice perk as well. However, if you want to put more points into the luck special stat, the best perk that you're going to want is Critical Banker, and you can get this perk at 7 luck, and you can get 4-leaf clover at 9 luck, which just so happens to have great synergy with Critical Banker. Again, I guess if you use VATS a lot, then go for that extra luck. If not, I would recommend going no further than 3. Okay, so just to review, you can really do anything that you want. However, again, I would recommend that you start out with the special stats that are being displayed and go no higher for certain ones like Strength and Perception in particular. While you can boost agility and luck, I think you'll find that you'll get more out of those with a pistol build simply because the AP cost on average for pistols is a lot lower than it is for rifles. Ultimately, it's up to you. I am just listing here what I recommend. Okay, with all of the talk of the perks and the special stats out of the way, it's probably a good idea that we finally talk about power armor and why you absolutely want it for survival mode. The fact is, power armor is superior to regular armor because it weighs nothing while equipped, it provides excellent damage, energy, and radiation resistances, and certain power armor customizations will further increase the player's abilities. For example, Calibrated Shocks will boost carry weight by 100 if both pieces have the customization, and motion-assisted servos with the military paint will boost strength by a total of 3. Now, the big thing though are those resistances, because certain weapons like miniguns will chew through your health, and explosives will easily cripple your character. However, with power armor equipped, you should be a lot tankier, and while you can still die to those attacks, power armor will make combat much safer in my opinion. While durability and breaking armor parts can be frustrating with power armor, the T45 and T51 armors mostly require steel to repair. Alternatively, if you have the Nuka World DLC, you can use the Overboss armor, as it has even better defenses than the T45 and T51, provided it's upgraded, and it also has lower repair costs that are similar to Raider armor. And while there are superior armor sets to these, like the X01 and T60, the problem with these power armor sets is that they tend to be very expensive to repair, and many of the resources used could be better put into modifying your weapons or helping to build settlement objects. Ultimately, for power armor, go with T51 and then the Overboss armor towards the end game, or if you're super rich and you can afford it, use the X01 armor. It's also important that we talk a little bit about weapons. When it comes to weapons for this build, just make sure you're using a weapon that is compatible with the Rifleman perk. And for reference, your best non-unique rifles are going to be the Combat Rifle, the Radium Rifle from the Far Harbor DLC, and the Handmade Rifle from the Nuka World DLC. These three weapons alone should prove to cover all of your bases, as the Combat Rifle can be modded to do 38, and it can also normally fire 308. The Radium Rifle in particular can fire 45 caliber, and the Handmade Rifle is great with the 7.62 ammo that it uses. This only leaves you with 5.56, which will need a semi-auto assault rifle for, 2mm electromagnetic, which you can get a Gauss rifle for that, and of course if you have energy weapons like the laser and plasma rifles, you're going to be able to use fusion cells and plasma cartridges with those weapons. If you do plan on going up to 5 strength to get the heavy gunner perk, I'd recommend that you stick to Gatling lasers and miniguns only. And the main reason for this is because ammo for the Fat Man and missile launcher is just ridiculously heavy to be practical, and other weapons like the Flamer aren't that great. As for unique weapons that are compatible with the Rifleman perk, I highly recommend that you seek out the Overseer's Guardian Combat Rifle, the Experiment 18-A Plasma Rifle from the Institute, the Prototype UP77 Laser from the University Point, and the Righteous Authority Laser that you can get from Paladin Dance. All of these weapons, in my opinion, are relatively easy to get. The Overseer's Guardian can be acquired from Vault 81 by purchasing it from Alexis Combs. The Experiment 18-A, as I said earlier, can be purchased from the Institute. However, you're going to have to go to the Institute vendor. The Prototype UP77 is behind a master lock at University Point, and the Righteous Authority Laser is something you get from Paladin Dance by completing some Brotherhood of Steel quests. As for some of the DLC rifles, like the Kiloton Radium Rifle and the Splatter Cannon and/or Problem Solver, the Splatter Cannon can be bought in Nuka World, and the Kiloton Radium Rifle can also be purchased from the Far Harbor DLC, though you'll need to do that at the Nucleus. When it comes to unique heavy weapons, I can really only recommend the unique Gatling lasers, which are the Final Judgment that you can acquire during the Institute ending, where you have to fight the Brotherhood of Steel, and you can get it from killing Elder Maxon, or the Eternos Gatling laser from the Nuka World DLC that you get during the Amoral Combat quest by fighting the Rogue Knight. I suppose you could use the Big Boy or the Party Starter, but I simply think that the ammo for both of those weapons is too heavy to really make them practical. I will say though that a Mini Nuke Blast usually seems to be a one-hit KO in survival mode, so it might be worth it to get a Big Boy just to lug around those 12-pound mini nukes. Ultimately, if you're having a hard time in survival mode, just try to not get outnumbered and use cover. Your power armor should allow you to take a couple of hits, and most rifles should be accurate enough to hit whatever it is that you're shooting at. Ultimately, I think you'll get a rhythm down and you'll finally figure things out if you're having any trouble. But alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like and let me know what you think of this survival build. As always, leave a like, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.